Cyno. Yeah, probably just goes in bad. Versatility low. Main role. On field damage. Main team. Dude, I don't even know. What is his main team at this point? Is Overload just better now? It probably is, right? I guess it's also Ineffa, but like he doesn't really have synergy with Ineffa, so I don't want to include that. Like, I guess technically he does have a bit of EM scaling, but like, bro, Llama synergy is nice. He doesn't really have Llama synergy though. Like the only synergy between him and Llama is that he has 100 EM. But like, you know who else has 100 EM? Lisa from her Ascension stat. Like, I don't know. I guess lunar-charged, hyper bloom, and overload. Additional notes. Cyno's kit technically has built-in synergy with EM, both from his burst providing him with 100 EM and from his ascension passive scaling with EM, but the numbers on it aren't really good enough to outperform supports in that slot. They also are additionally, while EM is both good for his passive and for lunar-charged, his attack scaling is still much better than his EM scaling and his attack, and those stats don't interact with one another. Because of this, he doesn't really have the same sort of synergy with these lunar-charged teams as the actual lunar-charged carries, despite scaling with the same stats. Okay. Sethos, bad, low on field damage, main team, aggravate, lunar-charged. Additional notes. Sethos's kit is fairly similar to Cyno's, but the balance of his numbers is much more heavily skewed towards the EM scaling than the attack scaling. This makes the synergy with reaction teams better, especially ones that care about the speed of elemental application, like aggravate. Sethos is one of the hardest characters to play optimally, and a well-played Sethos is about as far ahead of Cyno as a poorly played Sethos is behind him. How come Cyno is low versatility? Name me 3 Stygian bosses that Cyno has been able to clear. Fuck, name me 2 Stygian bosses that Cyno has been able to clear. That's the purpose of the versatility, right? It's not like how many teams does this character have? It's how likely is it that this character will actually be able to clear content. Because there are some characters that are very good, but easily counterable. Right? You can think of the versatility category as like, if the character can only do a boss when the boss has mechanics that are very favorable for them, they will have low versatility. And if they can't do the boss even then, they will also have low versatility. Even if there's a lot of teams that perform similarly to one another. Anyways, Clorinde, meta relevance, viable plus. Okay, let's hold our horses right now. It's either viable or viable minus. Main team, overload, Ineffa, burning load. Like, actual aggravate isn't real, man. But, like, be so for real. Honestly, this is kind of fake as well. Additional note. Clorinde has fairly fast hits and electro application, allowing her to get a lot of value out of official T6 and A4 in aggravate teams. But the archetype is still generally just worse than overload. In overload teams, Clorinde's biggest advantage is that her short field time leaves you with enough downtime to justify using her with Mawika in a dual carry playstyle without feeling like your Clorinde is cosmetic. Her biggest disadvantage is that this very same short field time prevents her from synergizing well with the other options in Overload, as you end up with dead time, as you end up in a staring contest with the enemies in many of these Overload teams. I think Ineffa should be included as well. Honestly, she's fine on it. Yeah, but she doesn't have any synergy in there. Alright, same reason I didn't include Yai Ineffa or Kutsang Ineffa. Okay, Ororon, meta relevance. We can compare him to Yelan, right? Because he's kind of like Yelan. He's your last slot in a meta team that's like relatively replaceable. Sometimes better, sometimes worse. I think Viable Plus makes sense. Versatility, high, actually. Ororon from Awake Overload is less replaceable than Yelan. Yes and no. I guess that's fair, honestly. Sure, we can give him meta minus then. Main role, off field, Electro application, buffs, off field damage, main team, Malika, overload. Additional notes, Ororon in a vacuum isn't that powerful, but his very low field time requirement, his Night Soul, and his good uptime, assuming your on-fielder is from Natlan, makes him generally the premium Electro applicator for Mawika's overload teams. He also helps quite a bit for void shields that take extra damage from Night Soul aligned attacks with his burst. Alright, is he a C6 merchant or is he viable non-C6 for Mawika Overload? He's very viable without C6 for Mawika Overload. Eonson, meta. The versatility, it might just be high, just because the Mawika Overload team is so versatile. Yeah. Main role, buffs. Main team, Mawika, Varesa, Overload. Anything else that uses the Eonson often? Kanich? Meta minus at C0. Meta from C2 to C5. Meta plus at C6. Varesa, meta relevance. Then Molani in meta. Meta minus. Meta if both Fellows and Eonson are C6. Viable if both, or viable plus, probably, if both are C0. Versatility, I'd say medium. Main role, obviously, on field damage. Main team, overload. Oh, I didn't do additional notes for Eonson. Eonson at C2 is often a side grade to the other best options in her good teams. Like, listen, chat. God invented semicolons for this sentence. Shilonen for Mawika Melt, and Official for Varesa with Durin. At C6, she is a pretty major upgrade. Anyways, and then Varesa's non-overload teams are quite a bit worse than her overload teams, which means that her overall performance on an account will decline significantly if you don't have the relevant constellations on the 4 stars for her overload teams. Oh yeah, also wait. I should actually add something about Eonson. Her overall value at C6 is so high that she tends to be at least a competitive option for any attack scaling carry that can use her, even if they don't maintain very high Night Soul average for her burst. Anyways, versus damage profile over multiple rotations can only sustain 4 skills per rotation unless you use manual charge attacks, which are significantly worse DPS. This means that while she can fill extra field time with those attacks, you can also use other short field time carries in dual carry teams, such as Mawika or Arlecchino. Had to sneak Arlecchino. Listen, like, everyone knows Mawika is fucking broken, okay? But, like, most people don't know that Arlecchino is, like, about as good as, honestly, probably better than using Bennett or using Pyro MC for Varesa. Like, yeah, it's not as good as Mawika, because, like, really, what is? It is what it is. Okay, Ineffa, meta relevance is meta, obviously. Flynn's meta relevance is meta. We can do both of them at the same time. Versatility, this one's weird, because, like, historically the versatility has definitely been high, but that's because we've been in the region that chills them since they came out. So I don't know if that'll stay the case. For now, we'll keep it. Yeah, I don't think you can make an argument for Meta Plus. Ineffa and Flynn, like Flynn's is not far enough ahead of Molani Post Bounty to justify being in Meta Plus. Right now, the only character in Meta Plus is Columbina. And really, I don't even know if I'll have Zabai in Meta Plus. Maybe. Anyways, Ineffa, main role, off-field damage, shielding. Main team, Flynn's and Ineffa, I guess. And I guess also Nefer. And I guess also Zabai. Additional notes. The only team or teams where Ineffa truly provides a lot of value are the lunar-charged teams. But her being or arguably, the best defensive utility Electro unit allows her to find usage outside of those teams. Anyways, main role on field damage. Main team obviously is just lunar charged. There's only one team. Additional notes. The lunar charged archetype is balanced around each 5-star in the team, contributing fairly reasonable personal damage, rather than focusing all the buffs on a hyper carry. This means the gap between Flynn's and any random on-fielder isn't as high as it is for the other lunar teams, which is why the Ineffa core is so popular. That being said, Flynn's is still the best on-fielder for this core. I think Nefer and Zabai is a sneak for Ineffa. Maybe Zabai is a sneak, because Zabai has better defensive utility options. But, like, Ineffa's defensive utility is just really good. Like, her shield is big, man. I think I'll remove Zabai, but I'll keep Nefer. Alright, Electro's done. Oh my god, I'm blooming! I'm so sorry.